Hi everybody, so today we have a top 5 video again, and today is the turn of concealers, probably one of the most crucial parts of the entire makeup process, especially for mature skin where we really do struggle to find ones. I certainly do, that don't cake, that don't go into fine lines, that don't really age you and look heavy. So I've got some absolute winners this year, really best year ever for me. It really has been. Like, I think I say that every year, but that's because makeup just gets up and up. But honestly, this year I have got two absolute holy grails they've become. So I can't wait to show you my top 5, but certainly my top 2. And if you're new here, hi, my name's Hannah, I'm 48 and I love luxury makeup, and here on my channel I show you lots of new makeup, lots of looks, lots of swatches. And if you think you'd enjoy this sort of content, I do upload here several times a week. I'd be delighted if you did subscribe. If you're already subscribed, welcome back. I'm super grateful to you all for being here, I truly am. And that's enough about me, let's dive straight into my top 5 concealers. So this isn't a top 5 concealers of 2025 with this series. This is very much a top 5 overall. So if they're new this year and they've broken into my top 5, that's why they're in the top 5. But some of them might not be from this year, some of them might be even older. So it is literally my top 5 overall in my entire collection. So in number 5 spot is the RMS. The title is the Revitalize Hydra Concealer. I've got mine in the shade CN03. This is basically a serum concealer. This gives quite a lot of coverage. The brush it's very good for sort of fine details. If you're going down the nose and everywhere else, it does blend out very easily on all parts of the face. It's quite thick for a serum. I'll show you now on the back of my hand. It's certainly not super lightweight. So you can get quite a bit of coverage. You see how thick that is? And this one does sit very nicely. Plenty of longevity with this. It doesn't need to be desperately set either because it's not particularly tacky and it really does stay. So if you're not somebody like me who has to have the most bone dry face ever, so I have to powder everything, you probably find you get on quite well with this one without even setting it. So it's almost like self-setting. Look how perfecting it is on the back of my hand. So it does give, for a serum type base concealer, a lot of coverage really, and it is very mature skin friendly. So that has been a big hit for me. It's just been eclipsed by the ones I love the most, but I've kept it on my desk. It hasn't left my desk. I've kept it in the pot here because I have quite genuinely really enjoyed this one. So I like the packaging. It's quite an affordable price. It's not one of the super expensive ones. You get quite a lot of products in here. We've got, well, 5 mils. It feels like quite a lot because it's heavy, but anyway, we get 5 mils. And it says 12 months shelf life, I believe, so that's not too bad either. So yeah, I really enjoy this one. Very skincare based, which is usually the theme with me. I go for things when they're skincare based or serum because I know that that means it's likely to work well for me. These really heavy, thick, cakey ones just don't anymore. They're not friendly on my mature skin, which is what's so important. I will be showing application with the top 2, by the way, if you're wondering. But if you do ever want to see a review of me using any of these concealers, if you just do a search, it should come up, hopefully. If you need me to find it for you, I will find it for you and send you the link. I'd be happy to do that because everything I'm showing you today I have reviewed. So that was a new one for 2025 and I have reviewed that one here on my channel. So now we are moving to number 4 and number 3. And I don't know, I think these are a tie, so can we call this joint third? I think we can. So for joint third, we have 2 that are not new, this one being the oldest of the 2, I think, and this one is the Charlotte Tilbury Beautiful Skin, and this one is the NATASHA DENONA Hy-Glam. These are both perfect for me for exactly the same reasons. They're both like skincare based, but the only slight difference, I'd say you get a little bit more coverage with NATASHA DENONA. Something worth noting though is I review so much makeup, so I don't run out of concealers or anything, let's be honest. It's extremely rare I finish a product. And this is 2 years old, and this one is, since it launched, how long ago did this launch? I'm not even going to try to guess, but let's just say, well, actually both of them, since launch date. So whenever their launch date was, that's how old they are, and they are still going strong. And the reason I wanted to mention that is because last year my number 1 concealer, and it's not in my top 5 this year, was the Westman Atelier concealer. The most expensive one I think I've bought, apart from maybe the Chanel Pot one. This was my number 1, and the reason it's not featuring in my number 5 is I'm finding this a bit heavy and cakey as it's getting older, so I don't think this one ages as well as the others. Now, they have all gone past their expiry. These are over a year old, and the Charlotte Tilbury and NATASHA DENONA, I mean, I don't know if I can see the expiry. Can I see it on the back of here? I'm going to need a magnifying glass, which I keep on my desk for this very reason. I think NATASHA DENONA says 12 months. I'm not certain. I'm going to have to limit my talking today, guys. This cold I've got is really catching the back of my throat today. Charlotte Tilbury. I can't read it. I think it says 6 months, but I've had it all this time and it's perfect. So I'm not going to recommend you do what I do, but my point is these can just go and go and go, and they are still fabulous. I love the Charlotte Tilbury for the ease of the way it just applies. It's very, very lightweight. You can see it's even thinner than that RMS one I just showed you. I get good coverage. I'd say it goes up to about medium. And this has never once had a caking issue. And this is when it's as old as the day it was launched. And it's still perfect. I really can't knock it for that. Like I said, when you're doing it around the eye areas, you do need to be really careful. Like, I don't let it actually go into my eye, so the brush is only touching there. So hopefully from a hygiene point of view, but feel free to shout at me for using something that old. But I wouldn't recommend it, but my point is they're that good. The NATASHA DENONA, which I think has 12 months, opposed to the 6 I think I read on the Charlotte Tilbury. Slightly lighter shade here. I've got 2 shades in the NATASHA DENONA. This one, by the way, is the RN1, and the shade I just showed you in the Charlotte Tilbury is, I've got 2 of those as well, is the 4.5 Fair. So here is the NATASHA DENONA, and this one it's as lightweight as the Charlotte, but it's a lighter shade, as I said. I do tend to keep 2 shades of each, so I'm showing you 2 different ones. I have a brightening shade and more of a correcting shade. I don't do that anymore, actually. I've stopped doing that, but I always used to, so I always kept 2. But it's just more coverage. You can see straight away, I think, that there's more coverage from the NATASHA. So it's really a question of how my skin is that day, because both of them sit beautifully. They are both very, very mature skin friendly. You don't actually feel in the back of my hand. There's no need at all to set either of those either. It's not a tacky feel at all. It's very bearable. Now for me, I will always set, and personally I find setting is always a good move anyway. It just helps things to last and look more beautiful throughout the day. So personally I would recommend setting, but I know not all of you like that. Just make sure you go in very, very lightly with that powder. I do always show here on my channel, I always use this brush for under the eyes, the N14, and just a tiny amount of powder. Start off on the outer edge to pat it in, and then with a tiny amount left on the brush, move it to this section here. So it's just a touch, and that's all I need, and then it's locked in. But I wouldn't say it's essential with those either. So these are still here. I believe they were both in my top 5 last year, so they're still in my top 5. That's how good they are. They don't leave my top 5, neither do they leave my desk. So there's the other NATASHA DENONA. I've got it here. When I said I keep 2, there's the other shade. But I could show you that now while it's here. I don't keep the other one of the Charlotte one on my desk. This is N1, so this one should be a bit darker. Yeah, so I showed you the light one. That's the darker one. And the one I just showed you was the RN1, was it? Yeah. So this one gives me a bit more correction in the sort of dark areas under my eyes. And then I can use the light one for things like down the nose and sharpening at the contour line, which is something I really like to do. But I don't tend to buy 2 shades now. I just go for the brightening shade, and I always use a corrector. That's my new routine this year. So not that we're going into that. So I am keeping this one really brief because of my throat. I'm on the verge of going into a coughing fit all the time. So now I've pre-recorded me trying on my number 1 and my number 2. So I'll play that clip for you now. Here it is. So I'm down to my top 2, and currently all I've got on my face is a very light skin tint. I haven't put any sort of corrector on. I would normally have a corrector on here. I do always put eye cream on, which I put on about nearly an hour ago now with my skincare routine. So that is literally all that's on my face, and I would, like I said, have a corrector regardless of how good one of these in particular is. But I wanted you to see these in action without a corrector so you can see exactly how they look. But these two are not really going to be a question of one versus the other, pick your favourite. These are pretty much, they're like joint favourites because they are completely different for different purposes, and I've probably reached for the two of them the most all year, and the ones I love the most. And one of them might be a bit of a surprise. The other one, I bet you've already guessed that it's at #1 spot. So at #2, we have this one from Tarte. Now this one is quite the surprise. This is the Tarte Shape Tape Blur Concealer Stick. My shade is 12B, which is for fair skin with cool pink undertones. So 12B is called Fair Beige. So it comes, first of all, this shape was something that some people weren't sure about. It works really well for me. This is more of a very light coverage, everyday serum sort of concealer, which is perfect for mature skin. It really is very, very good. My under eye skin area is very thin, as it tends to get when you're nearly 50 and above. It does start to thin out a lot, and you do find things look cakey and heavy. This never does. It can be used all over the face in all sorts of ways. It's really, really good, but it's not going to give you a ton of coverage. So that's why I have the two different options. So when I'm looking for a sort of everyday easy look, it's this one. But I have to say, this is my favourite out of all of them, including my #1, when I'm using it for places like, actually I've reached the end, have I? I've got a backup, but I've actually got close to the end then, it wasn't turning up. So I always do a little bit of concealer here to sharpen up my contour line. So I do have a little bit of contour. When I said all I've got on is skin tint, I put a bit of my contour, just a light layer of contour. And I always put a bit here to brighten this area. And then I put some down the nose. Now I will use this today because I actually prefer this down the nose than the one I'm going to show you in #1 place, even though the one in #1 place works very well for under the nose. So forehead, I'm going to split side by side. So I'll just do a little bit there. And then it works well on the chin, which is a very tricky area for me. I've had to skip concealers on the chin most of the time because most of them just end up looking a bit cakey throughout the day. I'll put a little bit there because this absolutely works. And I can sometimes do, because it's got that pointed tip, I can do a very thin line here. If you just want that sort of thin lift effect from a concealer. This is very lightweight, honestly. It's so quick and easy. I love the way it's just in this easy to apply stick. So under the eye, I can literally just sweep all the way under that amount. I can literally put that amount. You won't catch me putting that amount of concealer on with anything else, but I can with this one because it just absorbs in like skincare. It's really quick and easy. So I'll use two different concealer brushes today so that they're not crossing over. So I'll use the A506 from BK Beauty for this side. And now you will see, just patting this in, I've hardly done a thing, just pat in, and it's almost already done. My skin loves this. Now I am going quite heavy on the skincare at the moment because it's the central heating's on and my skin needs it. So it doesn't go in as quickly as it did in the summer, and that's just because I've got that much more skincare underneath. Like I said, it's been an hour since I put it on, but my skin is just not quite as thirsty because I'm being so extra generous. But there, with that line there, and can you just see how quick and easy that goes in? And it just gives such a smooth finish. It's so easy and quick. Very flattering for mature skin. This shade gives me a nice sort of brightening effect as well, but you can see there on the lid, it hasn't got rid of all of the sort of veins you can see. So like I said, it's not high coverage, this. I wouldn't use this brush for the rest of the face. This is where I tend to always go with my Shadow 5 these days, which I've just used for everything else. But I want to keep this completely real in the way I apply my makeup. So you can see that straight in. And now here, look at that, how quick and easy it is because it's so lightweight. So many concealers for mature skin are just a disaster these days. This one is so friendly on mature skin. And then down the nose where I've got concealer left and right, I just want to brighten down the middle there. This is another thing that can get quite tricky these days because so many concealers look cakey. I haven't even spent time working that in yet, but look already. It gives a lovely sort of shine as well. And obviously I'll powder that, but just look how easy that is. I love it. I reach for this one all the time, and like I said, it's my preferred one pretty much for all over the face, but for under the eye, when I'm looking for that really perfect full coverage finish, it wouldn't be this one. So we will see that one come in at number 1. But I do have to say, I think these are going to have to be joint first, because you've seen how good this is, and I've just told you it's my first choice for so many things. I'm thinking, do I need to do anything else? I don't, because look, it's done. Really lasts well, sits beautifully. It's just fabulous. Now I do still have darkness here. I will put some corrector on right at the end, but I want you to see the difference between this and the full coverage, which is going to be from my number 1 concealer. And if you've been watching me over the last few months, I bet you know which one is at number 1. Apologies to all of my American friends, because I know every time I mention this, it is driving you around a twist. But number 1, it is the new one from Chanel. Now this is, I believe, launching in the US at the end of January, so it's coming too soon. So you don't have to keep watching and getting fed up hearing about it. So this one is called, the full name, the Chanel Ultra Latin Le Corrector. My shade is in BR02, which is fair with rosy undertones. And this has fast become the best concealer I've ever tried in my entire life for full coverage on mature skin. I don't usually like a full coverage concealer because it doesn't work very well on my mature skin. It always sits too heavily, too cakey. This one is utter perfection, and I can now tell you I've tried it in warm weather, I've tried it in cold weather, I've tried it with heating on, I've tried it with heating off, I've tried it when I'm using tretinoin, when I'm not. In other words, it's been used throughout all of my different skin cycles, and there is no issue. There's quite a lot of products I love in the summer that I have to completely give up in the winter. This is absolutely not one of them. It still performs beautifully. So hopefully it will age well as well, because as we saw earlier when I was talking about my favourites, there are certain products that work brilliantly for me, but once they reach around the 12-month mark, they do seem to go off as they're supposed to according to the dates, but so many of the others don't. So I'm really hoping this one isn't one of them. Not that I expect to have any left, because in a year's time this should really be gone. Even with the amount of things I tend to review, I use this so much. Now I can actually, despite this being quite full coverage, I can be quite generous with this. And I like to be quite generous on the eyes. One thing I need to remember to do today though, I always set the eyes before going in with my eyeshadow, but because I'm right in the thick of Hand Mist, my daily eyeshadow videos for the Advent countdown, tiny bit there, like I say, it's much thicker than the Serum one. But yeah, because I'm right in the thick of Hand Mist, I can't set the eyelids because I don't know what's coming in my Hand Mist sack. So I could have cream, so I need to remember that. So I don't know why I'm telling you that, because this isn't live and you can't help me out, can you? But anyway, just a little bit there to do a lift. And I can do this down the nose, it absolutely works. Just not quite as easily and quickly as this one, but it still does work. And I can put a little bit of this on my chin as well. I don't tend to do it when it's a high coverage on the chin. It is a tad bit risky still for me. Oh, this side of the nose as well was the other place, wasn't it? Do you know what? I just realised I didn't blend it out there, did I, with Tarte? You've probably been looking at me thinking, why hasn't she blended that in? Oops. Anyway, you will see now with that Tarte one how it still blends in even after all this time. So now let's do the Chanel. You'll see it takes a tiny bit longer. It doesn't just vanish in seconds, but it still blends in very well. But when I put it under the eyes, that's when you're going to really see it in action, because that's where the full coverage kicks in. You can see here, it just needs that bit more work than with the Tarte because it's thicker, but it does work. And this has been used with every single foundation, skin tint, tinted moisturiser, everything I'm testing, all different types of foundation. Nothing has argued with this. So it works with all my skincare, it works with all my bases, it works with all my products on top. There's just been absolutely nothing this or the Tarte one actually have argued with. Oops, I got that a bit close to the brow there. Need to switch up brushes, I think. Let me try a concealer brush. So for this one I'll go with my Rapha, the LC01. I'm just going to take it there. And that's because you get so much more. With the Tarte, it just sort of tap and it melts in. You do need to be careful how much you use if you're using it in other areas, which I mostly do to just brighten these areas. But also I do have a very, very light skin tint on today, so I feel I need that little bit of extra in those areas as well. So now let's go into the under eye, and you can see the coverage I get from this, how smooth it is, how full it is. And this is the only full coverage concealer that I've ever loved like this. The only one. We had the new double wear one from Estee Lauder, which a lot of people raved about. I thought that was way too heavy and cakey on my mature skin. I really didn't like it at all. I've tried it in multiple ways and I actually quite hate it, to be honest with you. So when I saw this, I thought I'll try it for review, but I bet it's going to be a disaster, just like with all full coverage. I just don't like the heavy cakiness. Look at this. Look at it. Look at that coverage. Look how smooth it is. And look how quick it was to blend in, but also look how much it's covered up the veins, unlike the Tarte, which is giving me that very light coverage. You can see that extra coverage I've got straight away there. So it is a question of what you're looking for on the day. The Tarte is there for that really quick, easy, everyday sort of concealer. This one is very quick too, but not quite as quick. But this one's giving you the real polished look. So if I want to look really polished, if I'm going out for the day, if I'm going out in the evening, if I want to look my best, this is absolutely the #1 choice. It really is. I'm so impressed with it. And you can see this one has also taken down the darkness here a lot better than on this side. I'm looking at my monitor to see, but you can see it without me using any sort of corrector. It's still there, but it's much better on this side. Look at it. It's just gorgeous every time. It never seems to collect into lines at all. It never cakes. It doesn't move. It lasts all day. It's just exceptional. It's better than the one, I forget the name every time I mention it. It's better than the original sort of Chanel favourite that came in the pot. That one was good. It was a good one, I'll admit, but this one's better. It's a different formula, this. It's not exactly the same, and it's better. If you loved that one, I think you'll love this even more. So when it becomes available to you in the US, I think you're going to love it, and I can't wait to hear you all trying it. I really can't. But if you've already got this one in Europe or the UK, are you loving it as much as I am? I'm completely head over heels for this one. So I'll just quickly, before leaving, go in with a bit of corrector. I've just picked up the Charlotte Tilbury one here. I've got this one in shade 2 medium. I'll put a tap of this on my finger and just put it here where it was lacking, so you can see how it would look better. Now normally it would be the other way around for me. I would put this down first because it's a bit dark, and then I'd go in with the concealer. But this should help a little bit with that darkness that the Tarte couldn't correct. But keep in mind, I always do this even with Chanel, so for me it's not extra work. I always do that whether I need to or not. But I think you can see from the Chanel side that that wasn't quite as necessary, so I won't bother doing it for the Chanel side, even though it looks like I've got more of a dark trough there than I have on this side, maybe, or maybe that's the lighting. Sorry about the doggy noise. My son has just come home and he's a dog walker. He's just finished his dog walks, and my dogs have been waiting for him anxiously because it's gone past their lunchtime. So they're shouting like crazy at him right now. Feed me, feed me. They're very excited because I'm filming this on the last day of November, and tomorrow is the 1st of December, which means first day of Handmas. If you're going to be watching that, you'll be actually watching this after the 1st of December. So hopefully you've already seen the first day of Handmas. But my doggies are very excited about their advent calendar. My friend makes advent calendars, and she made this great big one where I can just put the treats in. So they've got lots of fishy treats because they love their crunchy dried fish. So yeah, they're going to be super excited tomorrow because their day will begin with advent calendar. And if you say to Alfie, who's the most clever out of the two, calendar, even a year later, he knows what you mean. So he's very excited because we've been telling him calendar's coming. Bless him. I'll have to take a video showing you tomorrow. I'll have to do that. I must remember. Anyway, there we go. We have the Chanel side and we have the Tarte side. Now I do think you're going to prefer the look of the Chanel side, because I certainly do. But I do like them equally for exactly the reasons I told you. So they are my top two, and they are my joint two for different reasons. They are both fabulous and the best concealers on my mature skin. So there we are. Those are my #1 and #2, and I honestly cannot imagine them being knocked off next year. Have I shown any of your favourites in this video, and have I not included some of your favourites? Please do shout down in the comments section below. I'd absolutely love to hear your thoughts, and it's always good to share with the community as well what your experiences are. But for me, I've certainly noticed significant changes in my skin as I approach 50, with perimenopause thinning out the skin and age, basically. So finding ones that really work for my mature skin is so important, and I'm delighted. Every single one I've shown you in this video today is really, really, really good, and those top two for me. If you've got those, for me, you don't need anything else. I would happily use the two of those on rotation forever and forget all of the others. They are so good. So I would love to hear your thoughts on those. And as I said earlier, if you're in the US and you're still shouting at me, I can't wait for you to tell me at the end of January what you think of that Chanel one if you get it. It is really something. I hope you're not going to get it now and be like, oh, I don't like it, that was disappointing. But I haven't heard anyone say they don't like it yet. I really haven't. It really is something special, especially if you're in my age group. So anyway, I'm going to go now before the coughing fit sets in. And I hope you like my headband. I don't know if I like it today, but I'm doing the hand mist filming, so I left it in. It is a little bit big. I feel a little bit like Statue of Liberty-esque. It's a bit over the top for me. Like, who do I think I am putting that on? But anyway, it's Christmassy. And I love the eye look today. Today was day 11 of hand mist, if you're curious to find out what eye look this was. But it was a successful day today, it was. Very successful. Anyway, I'm off. I do hope you found this video helpful. If you have, please do hit the like button. And if you're not subscribed, I'd be delighted if you did subscribe. If you already are, thank you so much for being here at the end of another video. It truly means the world to me. And I do hope to see all of you again for my next video. Take care, everybody. Bye.